The most valued, I be feeling like $1 million in the bank account. The most valued, never die, cause I'm going for the big amount. The most valued, I just turn to robbers cause I really hold it down.
Awesome. Welcome to the Most Valued podcast, guys. We are lucky enough to have Bbanner on the podcast today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm stoked to be getting to know you today. And as it happens, our other host, co-host John, has had a pop tire on the freeway. So I'm lucky enough. It's just you and I today. It's kind of worked out. Yeah, it worked out okay. Like, I love John, but it's nice to just have one-on-one. So I'll be going as deep as we'll see where we go, but I'm excited to get to know you.
Open to it.
Yeah. So I love getting to know people. I love having conversations, and I know we were talking a little bit about it before, about yourself, and there's always a journey that gets people to who they are, where they are, and what they're doing, right? Yeah. So there's so much I could ask you, but in the hope of keeping this short and making sure that we're getting nice and concise, would love to know. I always have a habit of sometimes asking people like, who are you? But that's a big question.
Yeah.
So I would love to start by saying, what is it that you do? What is it that you're doing now? So if people haven't heard of you before, what is it that you're working on, and what is it that you do now?
Well, I am an Afro R&B artist. So it's like a mixture of Afro beats and R&B, of course. I've been just working in Perth. I recently released my EP called The Love Hour last week, Friday. Yeah, so it's like 7 really dope songs. I think you guys are going to like them very much. And I've been just grinding for quite a long time, since like 2015. Seriously, when I came to Perth, that's when I really started like taking the music thing seriously, doing as many shows as possible, trying to get my name out there. So that's what I've been up to of late, doing a bit of shows here and there. So, yeah, it's been good. Yeah,
I love it. And from having artists on the podcast before and even talking to all humans, I can imagine, it's certainly not easy it's maybe easy to create for some people, but even that is a challenge for some.
Yeah.
So when it comes to talking about your production and your producing and getting your name out there and all that kind of stuff, talk us through, I suppose, how it's been in your journey as what got you to where you are now in your music journey.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Zambia. So I was born in Lusaka, and like growing up, I think music was always like a big part of my life. Like, I was telling you before, my dad was a DJ, my brother was a DJ. My sister used to sing a bit as well. She never took it seriously like the way I do, but my brother actually used to rap a bit as well. He had this CD in his closet where he had this like rap, really like corny, very like it was not very good. So he stuck to the DJ thing, which was good. So like in high school, people just started to like rap battle in the back of the class. So I just sort of like caught the bug after that. Just started really trying to get better at my craft of like trying to rap. But because back then I was more of a rapper than I am right now. Nowadays I'm more like it's a bit of both. So I rap and I sing as well. So I started to do music with people I was in high school with, my friends and stuff. And then I think in 2014 I came to Perth and bought myself some equipment, started recording, taking everything really seriously, and I guess that's what's got me to this point here. A few hurdles here and there, but that's pretty much my journey so far. Yeah,
I love. And you were saying you were 20-something on the later end of 20-something.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that when you were talking about hurdles and you were talking about the things, you were saying that you have been really lucky and you've had, with your upbringing and things like that.
Yeah.
But talk us through. I know definitely in my journey of being an entrepreneur, I've not been a musician, I've not been a rapper, and I know that it can be competitive.
Yeah.
So talk us through some of the hurdles that you've come across for, people who are budding artists or people who are having the same kind of challenges.
Well, I would say with my own personal experiences, like when I started doing music, I think in 2015 or 2016, somewhere there, when I'd been in Perth for a little while, my name wasn't really out there. I was sort of like just recording music at home. A label noticed me. They were called Black Crown. They're not active at the moment, but it was owned by a guy called Darren Knock, and he was like, he just hit me up on SoundCloud and he was like, oh, hey, I really like your music, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to talk to you and just see if we could sign you up and, you know, be a part of this like team that we're building. So met up with him. I really liked their vibe. It really felt like a family environment, you know. So I was with them for like 2-3 years, I think. They were like helping me get as many shows. The first big show I had was I opened up for Stoneboy. If most people know who Stoneboy is, I did a show for him at Metro City. I probably wasn't ready for that show at the time, but it was a good opportunity.
Are we ever ready? You know?
No, but like back then, I
you
really
like,
wasn't
no.
ready. I wish I could do that show now because I know I would put a better show on. Because back then I didn't really even have like original music back then. Yeah, but it was just a good opportunity, and the label was a good family environment. But after a while, I started to notice that they weren't really doing everything they should have been doing for me financially, especially. Like they were really good people, but I think on the business side, it wasn't really like great in terms of marketing me and pushing me further than I could go. So I just decided to like get out of the label. But because I was sort of like under contract with them, so for about a year, I was just sort of like stuck in limbo and they weren't really doing anything for me. They weren't even talking to me for like a year. Yeah, so I was
That's
just
like
sort
being
of
in a
stuck.
relationship with somebody who it's you're in a relationship with people in
Yeah.
essence, especially when you've signed a contract. So,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And they're not communicating with you. So like I had to wait for about a year for my contract to expire with them. And then once that was done, they were like, we need the masters for every song that you worked on while you were signed under us. So I sort of had to give them all that stuff on like a hard drive. And then it was pretty much just me starting from scratch because I'd built up a bit of a following on Facebook and stuff. Like my fan page had like almost like 4,000 people following me. And it was like, I'd put money into it myself, not from the label, like advertising and just posting as much content as possible. So it felt like almost like just someone knocked me down.
Oh man, 100%. I
Yeah.
know definitely how hard it is to grow. And it certainly doesn't, there's no amount of money and there's no amount of energy that can be from somebody else when you're your own brand
Exactly.
to lose that. So did you lose your fan base, or was it essentially just what you'd had to give to them in the mastering?
So I just had to give them the music, but they still had control of my Facebook because obviously with the label, they have to like be able to post and stuff
Yeah,
like
100%.
that. So it took me a while to get back control of it. But by the time I got control back completely, it was like the momentum had just sort of like died down. And I was putting my energy into like pushing my music on like Instagram and other social media like TikTok and stuff. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just not gonna bother with it because most of my traction honestly comes from Instagram, where I get most of my shows and things like that, where I interact with people is like on Instagram. So at least there's been that bright side. Yeah.
And so how was that for your mental health? I know I can speak to it from a relationship point of view, but I haven't been in a, you know, like a contract with when it comes to music. So how did that play on your mental health, having built that and then having it kind of taken away?
Yeah, it was really frustrating because like if we're going to go deep, because you said you wanted to go deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time.
No limits.
No limits. Yeah, yeah. At the time, I think this was maybe around 2018. But before that, I had lost my brother and my mother sort of like in the space of 1 year while I was here. So I was dealing with that and my studies and just relationship issues at the time with my partner. So all of that plus the label, it just put me in like a really bad spot. I was like depressed. I was like, because I deal with like insomnia. I'm a whole lot better now, but back then it was like really bad. I remember like a specific moment where I was doing TAFE at the time. So like I literally I only managed to go to sleep like maybe around 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. I was awake the whole night because my mind was just active the whole night. I had to go to TAFE at 8 in the morning. So I only slept for like an hour or so. And it was just like the worst time. That was probably my lowest point in my life. So all those things were just like sort of like knocking you down bit by bit. It was just like you couldn't catch a break, you know what I mean? So I think what really helped me get out of that rut was like I just got back to work because at the time when I was doing TAFE with like being an international student, you can't really like work and do TAFE at the same time because TAFE is like full days every time. So I couldn't really find a job that would allow me to do those two things. So I finally finished TAFE, got a job, I was working as much as possible, and it really like just helped me get out of the rut and sort of like create a bit of a new thing that I was doing every day, keeping my mind occupied, talking to like a therapist and stuff. It really helped a lot. And yeah, I think I'm still not completely there, but it's like it really made like a major change.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I know definitely having had mental health challenges myself, not in the same realm as yourself, and not having lived your life or faced the same challenges of yourself, I suppose something that I have definitely learned is when you're faced with challenges, and when you're in the realm that you're in, would you say that like continuing and making sure that you keep going is one of the, biggest pieces of advice to people? And what's that looked like for you in continuing, and how hard has that been?
Yeah, of course. Because like with me, like music has always been something that's been a constant all the time. Even when I was depressed, I was still working on music and trying to push myself as much as I could. So like it just never stopped. You just try and get better all the time. So even through all that, I was still trying to record as much as possible, collaborate with other people, do many shows. Because like when people see you, you're happy and you're doing these events and stuff, and it's like you put on a happy face, but in the background you're going through stuff that people probably would understand or wouldn't understand as well. Yeah.
And that's the thing with mental health, and when you're struggling, is it looks the same as when you're happy as hell. Like
Yeah.
I've been in some of the worst moments, and looking at pictures, and like even had I met you when you were going through a challenging time, you're not going to meet somebody for the first time and be like, look, I'm really struggling right now.
Yeah,
and that's what
known for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And did the challenges of losing your brother and losing your mother, and the challenge of coming to a whole new country and everything that you faced, did that make its way into your music as well?
Yeah, I would definitely say so, because like when I lost my brother and mother, it was like during the time when I just came over here, so like 2014, 2015. So it was literally like as I'm in the thick of things, like getting into school and trying to, do my best as well. Like just having those hurdles come in, it obviously has to, because I do Afro beats as well. It's very like happy music. So I try and express it that way. So you can't really talk about stuff that's that deep when you're making Afrobeat music. So I try to make music that people can dance to and people are happy when they listen to it. You know what I mean? So at some point I do want to be able to talk about these things and sort of like tell the stories about my mother and my brother as well in my music. But right now I just want to make happy music. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And what's your, I've been really lucky in my life that I haven't lost, touch wood, people closest to me that have been in my family. But I just can't imagine, But what's some of the advice, I suppose, that stuck around, or something that's been stayed with you from your mum and your brother?
That's a good question, actually. I would say like mostly from my mom, I would say, because she was very like, I think one thing I got from her is being very like generous. And that's not to like sort of like pat myself and say like I'm a good person or whatever. It's just,
hey, that's okay. We're all about that. It's totally fine.
When I was growing up, she was always one of those people who like, because back home where I grew up, you know how like in Australia now you have people standing by traffic lights and asking for, asking for money because they're not doing well at the moment. We have that back home. It's quite common. So she would always try and help people here and there, give money. If someone was selling something by the side of the road, she would, give them a bit more money than she was supposed to give them, just to say, hey, this is something to help you with this and that. So I sort of like, I've taken that into my life as well, trying to give to people as much as possible, even if I have like $50 with me and I know I'm not going to use it for something. I'm like, I'll just give it to someone who's like, homeless or someone who looks like they need it. So I think that's one of the things I got from her, just trying to be a good person. You know what I mean? Just trying to give to people who actually need it, because I'm not a person who makes a lot of money, but it's like I'm able to give because, I'm in a good place as well.
Yeah. And so talking about inspiration and people who've been a part of your journey and have stuck with you, I suppose something that we do ask is, like other artists or other people, or even if it's not in the same realm as music, is there somebody who you look up to or, that keeps you going? And they say surround yourself with people who are doing, the same or bigger or better than you.
Yeah.
Has that applied to you?
Yeah, of course. I'll say like I'll give 2 examples. Like of recent, you were talking about listening to my stuff. Like the song "La La Love" and "Fire and Water" features my friend SPL. She's a really talented like pop singer. She does R&B as well. It's like she does a mixture. So we've really like when I dropped my first EP, it was called Jungle Fever. She was like one of the artists who was there at my EP launch, the first EP launch I did, and it was like there was such a good turnout. And after that, we just became really good friends. So I think for the past year or so, we've just really gotten closer and become even greater friends than we were before. So we're like, why don't we just work on like music? Because we've done that before. And she was like, oh, let's do an EP together. So we actually have an EP together in the works. And those songs, La La Love and Fire Water, are part of that EP. So she's one of those people who pushes me because we both have the same mentality and we're both trying to succeed in this thing. So why don't we do this thing where like if I do a show, most likely she'll be there performing with me because we've done songs before. And if she does songs, a show as well, then I'll do the same thing with her as well. I think when growing up, I think my mom was my biggest inspiration as well because she was like my best friend. And she was a very like artistic person, very smart. So like her and my dad just always supported me. Like you have no idea. Like even my dad till this day, he was always talking about, oh, I saw your song. I saw your music video, blah, blah, blah. I really love it. So like they've always supported my music. So that's been really important as well. And just people I've surrounded myself with, like you had my DJ on. I think he did an interview with you guys. His name is Adaboy. Yeah, he's my DJ. So he plays my shows and stuff. And he's just like a super, super talented person. So everybody, like the people on my EP, like there's so many people that inspire me every day. Like the people that I've built friendships with over time. So I would say those people, there's quite a few people. Yeah.
Without naming them all, they know who they are.
They know
we know who you are. And so it kind of brings us as well to, your name. You're even being in and around your energy. You're so grounded and you're so calm. And from having the conversation previously, Bbanner, where did that come from? What does it mean to you? And
Yeah, so my friend, his name is Donald. So he used to go by D Skills back in high school, and we used to like rap together. So he used to be like the top guy, and I was like the guy who was like second, trying to catch up to him and stuff. So we were like really good friends. He was like one of my best friends growing up. Like we did everything together at that time because we were at school year around people 20. It almost feels like almost 24/7, but it's like so many days. So he always used to talk about how I had this like calm energy, and he was like, he said one day he was like, oh, I'd be afraid to see like someone make you really like angry. I'd hate to see that, that side of you. So he was like, oh, why didn't you just call yourself Bruce Banner? And I was like, oh, that sounds good. Because I'd gone through different names at that time. I think at some point I was called Prince.
Was it like, when you have your first email, it's like...
it was like that, yeah. It was like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like Bruce Banner. So it kind of stuck. I think this was maybe around 2010, 2011 when I got that name. And it sort of like stuck until I came here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I shortened it to Bbanner just because I like the way it looked.
Looks better.
Yeah, it looks better.
Yeah, okay. And you got to sit with it and feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And when it comes to your energy and being calm, that's not everybody. And I know you were talking about seeing a therapist. I see a therapist as well, and holding that energy and in comparison, the chaos of some people bring as well. Yeah. Life has created that in you, and, we may be born a certain way and that might change, but what keeps you grounded? What keeps you in your energy? Is there a faith that you follow? Is there something that you are connected to each day, or something that you do daily or weekly or monthly?
I just like to try and keep myself busy and occupied, whether it's playing, soccer, doing the whole music thing. I think even before therapy, like the moments I went through where I had losses and bad moments relationship wise, I think those were never the way I was during those times, very like erratic and just paranoid. It wasn't me. I was always very like calm and, quiet and all those things. So like that was just a small little period in my life where I just wasn't myself. Mm-hmm. So I I feel like this is me back to who I was, just very calm, like nothing really, messes with me or fusses me or anything like that. It was just, yeah, I just like to be relaxed. There's no point of being overworked over certain things. That like I've been with my partner since 2015, and she's very like I'm the calm one, and she's the very like erratic one. So like whenever she's like overworked about something, I'm like, dude, you just need to relax.
You
and
need
just
that
calm down.
energy. It's like a nice balance, the yin and yang
The
that
yin
you
and
have
yang, yeah,
with
yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And so, you were talking about the challenges that you'd had with relationships, and now you've got a partner since 2015. How have you changed, I suppose, to create and call that in, and how has it impacted your ability to be able to show up the way you do with your music and your profession?
It's actually with the same partner. So the issues that I had was just like during the period when I had the 2 losses in my life, I was just not the best person to be around. So that affected our relationship. And we're still sort of like at that stage where we're still working on it and getting better. We actually had a child.
As you do.
We had a child in
Beautiful.
December last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A beautiful girl. Her name is Opello. And yeah, so my partner.
How's that going?
Yeah.
Having a little one, because Skinny, he's not our boss, but our bestie and the person who created Most Valued and got us all together has just had a little one.
Yeah.
And I know from speaking to friends, I don't have kids myself, one day, how challenging that is and how hard it can be and how that impacts life. Like, talk us through that.
When we were talking, because we've always felt like it's funny, we've always felt like we were going to have a girl. Like even when we were at our early stages in our relationship, we always used to talk about, what we're going to call her when she's here, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
We had the name sorted out and everything. So like when it happened, we were like, it was scary, but at the same time, it's like, dude, we've been together for so long. It's like, this was bound to happen, but nothing prepares you for like the sleepless nights, especially those the first month. My God, it was so tough. Like, cause they're so tiny, and they don't really sleep as much. So it's like they're waking and they sleep like maybe 15 minutes and they wake up. So we were just constantly, we lived with her mother for a bit just because it was nice to have that help as well.
Yeah, and community that we, like in the world, we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas it used to be just the norm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It takes a village to raise kids, and now we kind of say, we'll do it ourselves. We've got this pride about us,
I don't know how people manage that, but we had the help there. So it was just a lot of like waking up in the middle of the night, having to fix a bottle of milk. Just it was really bad. Like I was so tired. I'm tired right now.
Yeah.
Like I had to.
Well, you don't show it.
I had to drink a Red Bull before I came.
Did you?
So that's
okay.
probably why. Yeah.
So this is you with mad energy.
Yeah.
Like, so you're usually like super zen.
Super zen.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I'm even lost track. What was the question?
No, that's okay. And this is what I love as well, and about people and about yourself is that, each question is going to lean onto the other one.
Exactly.
But you're talking about the challenges that you'd had in your relationship and things, and then obviously having a baby that comes along with that, and how you went from having challenges to maintaining yourself now in what you're doing, because it does take somebody, in any profession, and whoever you are, you need a supportive partner.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So with we used to both like work before we had the child. So like right now she's just a stay-at-home mom for now. Like while we take, because like I think one of the scary things about raising the child is just having to take them to daycare or have someone take care of them, because like they're your world. So you don't want to put them in someone else's hands who might cause them harm or anything like that. So she stays at home with the baby. Like I'll be honest, like I work like a 9 to 5, so I keep myself, I'm quite busy with that. And then I have to come home and like help her with the baby, give her a bath, change her, put her to sleep and all these things. So it's like, but I want to try and remember that, she's the one who's having it tough because she's with the baby all day.
Yeah.
Because I've had days when I'm with the baby, just like, I think yesterday I was with the baby the whole night, and it's not easy. You know what I mean? Especially when you're like the man. It's because you can't just take the baby and breastfeed her and all that stuff. You have to take out the milk, put it out. You have to feed her and all these things. And if she doesn't want to sleep, she doesn't want to sleep. You know?
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I understand that, but I was trying to remember that it's also tough. It's tough on both sides.
Yeah. And that communication between both of you as well, and having that understanding, I think, is important. And something that gets missed quite often, to be honest with you, and having somebody who's hands-on as a partner and having the understanding that, you're going through your challenges and that's truth. and she's going through her challenges, and that's truth. And then you're trying to bring up a child in the world. Like, what the hell?
It's difficult.
Yeah, 100%. So I see you, and I said, what's your partner's name?
Her name is Cabo.
Cabo.
Yeah.
I see you, Cabo. But yeah, so, like with your journey and with music and, like I was saying, we could have a chat about a lot of things today.
Yeah.
Going back to, have you got any musical inspiration or anybody that you've followed or, musicians that you pull from, producers that you pull from as well?
I would say when I first started out, when I first started loving music, I was listening to 50 Cent.
Yeah.
That's who I was. So I was trying to be like gangster back then.
Man, even I was even I was trying to be like 50 Cent.
So I would wear the baggy pants, the big shirt, the chains and all that stuff. Even the chains were fake, but I was trying to be like them. So that was one of my biggest inspirations at the time. But I've obviously, I mentioned before, my dad was a DJ. So we grew up around a lot of music, whether it was 80s music, like Luther Vandross, all those people. But also my musical palette is very wide as well because my mom also loved music. So I love country music. I listen to K-pop as well. I've got such a wide
How
range
interesting,
of stuff.
K-pop as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I literally had a YouTube channel where I was doing reaction videos to K-pop and stuff, especially when I first came here. But I sort of stopped doing that at some point. But I genuinely love K-pop music. It's really good. So I listen to a bit of everything, to be honest. All that stuff inspires me. I think of late, because I'm doing the whole Afro R&B thing, a lot of people like Nonso Amadi. He's an artist who does music. Who else? Mostly the people who do Wizkid, most of the people who do the Afro R&B genre that I do right now, that did the similar sound, are the people that I follow right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so, in your journey and in the people that you've been inspired by and what's kind of created your music, for somebody who's coming up, we were talking about how, you've been in the industry for such a long time, not such a long time, like Maggie used to mention, but you've been in there for a while. So you've seen the transition of, we've had artists on before who were talking about, they'd have CDs and they'd take CDs out. You'd have to go door knocking. There was so much you had to do. And while I can imagine there was challenges there'd be challenges here now. So could you talk us through what it was like and what it's like now, and what it looks like for you?
Yeah. I think it's become way easier right now. Obviously, I'm not that old that we were doing CDs. Probably CDs were still there, but they weren't. I think we're getting into that age of USBs when I started taking music seriously and stuff. So I think technology and the internet has just made everything more accessible, and I think it's made it way easier. Because back then you just had you didn't have I don't think you had Instagram back when I was first doing music.
No.
When, in 2010, 2009, 2010, there wasn't I think we only had Facebook at the time.
Yeah.
I think Twitter was just sort of coming up, but I wasn't really on Twitter that much.
So how were you discovered by the label?
So that was SoundCloud, but that was when I came here. So I signed up for SoundCloud once I came here. So I was posting my music on there, and that's when they found the music, just randomly.
Yeah, okay. And then so the challenge. So you were saying it's definitely easier to be seen now, but then also with that being easier, that comes a challenge because there's more people being seen.
People,
So how do you cut through the noise, and literally how do you stand out?
I think, to be honest, it's a very cheesy answer, but it's just making the best music that you possibly can. But at the same time, there's more that I could be doing because I know there's other artists that are probably starting out and they have a bigger push because they're probably more involved in social media and stuff. Because I feel like I'm a bit of a dinosaur sometimes because I struggle with the whole social media thing and posting yourself. Even here, when I come here, most people would be like, oh, let me take a picture, blah, blah. And I'm not really in that mode. I want to interact with people and talk and meet people, genuinely, not have a camera in their face, so I still need to.
Sorry.
So I need to sort of learn how to navigate that whole social media thing and posting a lot of content of myself out there. But I'm still getting used to it. I'm more focused on making the music and putting the music out there. Yeah.
So how do you make your music then? What's your process? Do you go really internal or does it come naturally, or what's your?
I think it has to count. It has to happen naturally. I would say I don't like to force it because I go through moments of I'll have a burst of creativity where for a month I'm working on music and then I can go for 2 months without working on music because I'm just not in that space. So with this EP, the Love Hour, it's like I, I I usually have done production before in the past, but this time I was like, you know what, I need to sort of like take a step back and just really focus on trying to make the best music possible because I wanted it to really sound different from what I've done in the past. So I got in touch with a producer from back home in Zambia. His name is Uncle Tiki. So he did all 7 songs on the EP. And if you listen to the intro, he's the one singing on the intro. Yeah. So I really wanted to take like a hands-off approach. So what I would do is I would find beats on YouTube, and I would just like I would literally sit there in the studio because I have a home studio in my house, or I'd be just driving home during work or on my way back home from work. I would hear a beat and I'd be like, oh, that's a nice idea. So I'd record like a voice note. And then at some point, if I have time when I get home, I'll record the idea to it and sort of like start with like a blank, maybe just a hook, or maybe it'll be just a verse. And then I'll send it over to Tiki and he'll like produce a new beat sort of like with a similar feel around it. And then, yeah, after that, when I get it back, I'll finish it up, send it over to my mix engineer who's his name is John Garcia. He's in New Zealand at this moment. I found him on Fiverr, which is like a good site if you guys want people to like mix your stuff.
Yeah. But it's like hit and miss sometimes. So it's awesome that you found somebody who works for you.
Yeah. I was lucky to find. He mixed one of my songs. Like I have a song called "Bad for Me." If you've heard it before, he mixed that song and then he disappeared. He stopped working on Fiverr for quite a long time. So I was just looking for him online for.
You're like,
it felt like a year. Like, dude,
I need you.
And then I stumbled across his his Instagram, and then I got in touch with him. I was like, dude, I'm working on this EP. Do you want to help me mix it, blah, blah, blah? Because I didn't want to do it myself. So he was like, yeah, sure. So he gave me his prices. We got in touch, and he's very good, like, in terms of prices. So, yeah, pretty much like that. Voice note, Tiki produces, send it over to John after I've recorded, and that was about it.
Yeah, awesome. So I feel like you're kind of made to do it. If it's something that seems like it doesn't sound easy, because I'm sure there's challenges that come with it, but it sounds like a smooth process. It's not something that you have to like go into a deep dark dungeon and like, you know, ignore the whole world and everything like that. It comes. It has to come naturally, I think, because like I'm also trying to improve as a writer and also as a singer as well. I'm trying to get better because like with the girl I told you about, SPL, she's a singer, like she's a proper singer. So we'll have to have her on.
Yeah, for sure. You should definitely invite her. She gives me advice as well on like, hey, maybe try and sing it this way, blah, blah, blah. She's very complimentary on my singing, which I don't think is perfect, but like I try my best. So just try my best.
Yeah, trying your best. And that's all you can do. Yeah. Is there anything, so like what, I asked you before, what kind of keeps you grounded and who you are? Would there be like an ethos that you live by? Is there something that, you know, when you come across people or if I were to ask you what keeps you and what's a saying that you live by or a quote that you love, is there something that comes to mind?
I think it's my dad as well, because my dad is what kept me very grounded when I was growing up. Back then, it seemed like he was just very strict, but at the same time, he was being very protective and trying to stop me from getting involved in things I shouldn't have been getting involved in. You know what I'm saying? And when I look back at it now, I'm like, yeah, I sort of understand what you're saying. Maybe I could have had a bit more freedom, but like, I get what you're saying. I get what you were trying to do as well. So I think that's what's really kept me grounded. And I've sort of like kept that here as well when I came to Perth, because when you're a student, on a student visa, like if you're an international student, like you don't have room to make mistakes, because once you make a mistake, you go back. So like I was very like to myself, and you know, if people wanted to go out and do all these crazy things, I was just like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna sort of like stay and work on my music and try and focus on school. So I think that's what's sort of like, it's always stayed in the back of my mind and kept me grounded as well. I think it's been mostly my dad, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And is there, so speaking about coming here as a student and stuff as well, did you face challenges coming here and being somebody who's different in the country? Like I can imagine that sometimes people can be pretty cruel. Did you ever experience anything like that when you came?
To be honest, I think I'm very lucky in that style, because like I'm pretty sure there are other people that experience bad things when they come over here, but because when I came here, I was staying in like student housing, so they put me together with another Zambian as well. So that just opened me up to like a friendship group that was also Zambian. But obviously you don't stick to just those people. When I was in like when I was at Curtin, there was a lot of like Asian students. There was students from different backgrounds, so you get to know people. You know what I mean? So I've had, you're still able to stay grounded because you have people from your country, but you're also able to get to know other people. And I've been lucky to not experience really like anything terrible like racism or anything like that. So I've been lucky in that way.
That's good.
Yeah.
I feel like we have, I've learned so much about you and I so appreciate it. Is there something that, when you're talking about cutting through the noise and being noticed and things like that, is there something that the listeners can do to reach out to hear your music? Like where can they find you? What have you got coming up and, your current EP?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, I released my EP, The Love Hour, so you can find that on most streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes. You can just look me up on Instagram at Bbanner Music. And yeah, on Spotify, Bbanner, on iTunes, Bbanner, you'll find me on there. You can check out the project. I've got a few shows coming up, not completely official yet, but if you follow me on Instagram, I usually post up the dates and stuff of the shows. So yeah, you can follow me there.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for showing up like each day and pushing through when there's challenges and being around, because there'll be people who also look up to you as well. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. Hopefully you reach out to Bbanner, but wait for the next podcast and enjoy.